Alright, so now that we've taken our screenshots of our graphs, because I can't copy and paste the graphs from sheets, you might be able to, but I had to take screenshots of mine. So now that we've done that, I would like for us to upload them to Notability. If you really want to do Google Docs, you can as well. I'm going to do Notability. It's easier for me to use my Apple Pencil with Notability. I'm just going to click this plus sign that's in the upper right hand corner. I'm going to go to Photo Library and I'm going to select my graphs. There's one and there's the other. I'm going to insert them. Alright, now obviously I don't want them on top of each other, so I'm going to move them apart. If I can get that one, there we go. I'm going to move this one up here, and this one I'm going to move farther down here. Okay, I'm also wanting to make this bigger, and please make yours large as well so that I can see it. I don't know if I can, I can crop. So I'm going to crop it because I have some things in this photo that I don't want. I really just want my graph. So if you could also, touch the graph and then select crop. And that looks good. I'm going to move it back up here. Okay, I'll do that with this one. So again, I'm just touching the graph. I'm holding down. A little finicky. There we go. Crop. Gonna crop this. Now your graphs are gonna look different than mine. I'm using Jada's data because it was the first one that came up in my Google folder when I looked. And at the time when I'm doing this in advance. We don't have that much data yet. So your graph is gonna look different than this one. Don't worry about it. I also messed up on this first graph because I didn't select the last column of temperature, and so that's why there's only 2 lines for Celsius. I didn't select the Celsius at 8 p.m. column just because when I was recording this for you all, I was just trying to do it quickly before my dogs started making a ruckus. Alright, so now that we have our graphs, we don't want to just leave it at that. We kind of want to say, what do these graphs mean? And so what you're going to do in Notability, or if you want to use Google Docs again, that's fine, is you're going to write about what this graph means. So the first thing I want you to write, I'm going to make my line a little smaller here. Okay, I want you to write just what do you observe about the data in this graph? So I really want you to describe what you see. Okay, so please describe what you see. And then I want you to tell us, do you prefer looking at Fahrenheit data or Celsius data? And then why? Okay, I'm going to give you an example for number 1 because I want us to practice being a little more verbose in writing, which means I want all my students to be able to say a little bit more than what we're currently saying. You guys are very good at talking to me and telling me what you think, and when I see you in person and when we have conversations, I know that you understand things. But sometimes in our writing, it's not as clear. And so I really want us to get better at telling all that we know when we're writing something. So please, say a couple sentences for number 1 about what you notice. This is not complete data, and I don't feel like I'm giving away, anything when I tell you this, but I might say, I noticed that for Fahrenheit, for the blue line, which represents 8 a.m., that there seemed to be more variation in the temperature. The temperature went up and down a little bit more in the morning than it did at nighttime. So that's something that I could say. I could say I noticed that the noon temperature was really stable over time. That's the orange one. And I'm trying to think of how to tell you how I know that that's what it is. But I just remember from looking in Google Sheets that that's what it is. Unfortunately, they didn't give us the key with the colors labeled as to what times they are. But overall, I might say something like, overall, the temperature seems really stable from Monday, March 16th to Sunday, March 22nd. The temperature did not change much. That's something else that I could say. All right. So those are the two questions I'd like for you to answer for the line graph on temperature. We're going to go down here to our pie chart. I've heard some teachers call this a circle graph. To me, that sounds kind of weird, but anyway, pie chart, circle graph, whichever one. I'm going to describe what I see here. So you're just going to describe what you observe. So again, your data is going to be different than this data, so I'm not going to give much away here. But I can say half of all days over the past 2 weeks were sunny. That's really nice. I don't think that that's currently true. We had a lot of gloomy days, but from this data that I used, that was at the beginning of when we started collecting data, that was true at the time. Could also say that, almost half, looks like about 40% were partly cloudy, and then about, maybe 10% were other. So that's me describing what I'm seeing in this graph. The reason why we use the circle graph in this is because we just want to know, what were the weather conditions most of the days. And so the circle represents all of the days that we had. And so it's good to use a circle graph in this scenario because we have 100% of something, 100% of all the days, and we want to look at the parts of those 100%. What were the weather conditions out of all of those days? All right. So I hope that makes sense to you. There are also written instructions, and that's all I got for now. Talk to you later.